Episode 29. And we're back again. We've got a guest host again. Becoming more regular.
Wow.
Because somebody's lateness and gallivanting around.
He's probably running. Where's he running this week?
No, he's in Belfast Saturday.
Oh, yes, he is. Yeah.
He's in Belfast tonight over at our good friend's Tall Monster, so he's over there.
Yeah, doing his bit.
Yeah. With
I'm sure we'll see on the social in the morning he's done like a knock to 10k out.
No, he's doing a park run.
Oh, is
in
he?
Belfast, yeah.
He's ticking him off, isn't he?
Mr. Medal Man.
Yeah.
You're the milkman and he's the medal man. So we're here on episode 29 and we've got two new guests. And Derek, remind me of your surname again. Barrett.
You know the one that's on his top?
I've got no glasses on, mate. To me that says
Beirut.
Barrett. So, and you're a carpenter by trade?
No, cabinet maker.
Cabinet maker.
Get it right.
Bloody hell. Can we just start again? And we've got Ollie with bare hands as well.
Yep.
Who does sort of, how would you describe what you do so I don't get it wrong?
I build cabins and treehouses.
Yeah, some like real great stuff. Like the reason I've got you both on and probably put you together was it's sort of, you're working with similar materials, doing similar sort of like things, but not, if that makes any sense. So it's sort of like, you know, you're both very creative. I saw one of your reels, was it something ridiculous, like about 25 million or something on them?
Yeah, 20.5 million.
Yeah. Oh, that one.
Yeah.
So that was, I think that was probably where I sort of went, whoa, like that. And obviously watching that reel that did well, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's sick as, excuse my language as well, YouTube, sick as fuck. So that's sort of why I wanted to get you both on. It's sort of giving people an insight into two things that are, you know, similar but not. So who do you want to start with then, Mike? Who should we get into first?
We'll go Derek first.
Yep.
We're going to get him
into. We'll come on to some tree houses.
Into some tree.
Only because I've been like, I can't wait to speak about these tree houses.
Yeah.
They just, even Derek's going,
Well, I did say earlier, I just said, look, can you build me one and put me in the middle of nowhere so I don't have to speak to anybody? Because I'd love that. I mean, they're the types of things that you always, you know, like when you're looking for holidays with your missus and you think...
And they always ping up on the...
Should we go to this log cabin? And then you're sort of like that, but you just... I'd love to go
stick me in one of them for a week or whatever. But yeah, we're going to come on to that.
So we'll start with you. What we tend to do, which I'm sure you probably watched one of the podcasts before, is we like to take you back to where it all sort of started. So not like... You know, you don't have to tell me when I was 2, I went to primary school and I picked up a piece of wood and I always knew, you know. Just give us an idea of, you know, how you came to be in the trade and sort of, you know, what led you to being a cabinet maker more so than, you know, building wild tree houses and things like that.
So in Ireland, you do your leaving cert and it's very point orientated. So unless you get lots of points, it's harder to get onto secondary education.
Points make prizes, we all know that.
What was that? That was... Is it? No, it's not Strike It Lucky.
I wanted you to answer it because then it shows your age.
Points make prize. What was it?
What are points make prizes? It wasn't Barrymore. I know you're thinking Barrymore.
Forsyth.
It was Brucey.
Strike It Lucky. No, that's Barry. Don't know.
Just don't end up in a swimming pool, Mark. That's what I'm going to say to you.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So, so we did a FETAC, which is like a foundation course in Galway. I was going to do the interior design, but then the queue was really long with loads of portfolios. So I was like, I'll look for something else. Oh, furniture on the list. So joined, it was in 2021, I think it was. No, 2001, God's sake.
I was going to say, you've done a lot in a year.
Yeah. Because I remember 9/11 was happening around the same time. And I went for the interview and I blagged my way in and I did that course and that's where, so 2001 is kind of, I did a little bit before that. So I did the year course. And
what made you just pick that randomly?
No, I was dyslexic in school. So when I was... always better at making stuff, usual birdhouses, woodwork, metalwork. I was always good at that stuff in school. So I did this course. We did restoration, furniture design and craftsmanship, and it touched on kind of all the different aspects of furniture. So there's a place in Ireland called Letterfrack, which is like the number one furniture college or second to go on further education, but they needed like so many points to get in. So that's why I looked at the UK, because they seem to look at you more as a person than points and like you have to have so many A's and B's. They just want to know you have a passion. So I knew a girl we knew of a girl that had done university in Buckinghamshire in High Wycombe. So we came over, three of us, and went for an interview, and I got accepted for the fine craft course, and then the two other lads got accepted for another course. And but because it's only 28 in the class, they couldn't accept me for that year. So they said we'll put you in for the following year. It's 2003. So I fecked off to Canada and I did a year in Canada.
And I had a good time.
Had a really good time. But it was funny because I was watching your podcast.
How come you didn't end up staying in Canada?
I nearly did. I had a year's holiday visa, but my university started in September 2003, and I said if it didn't work out, I was going straight back to Toronto. And I was working in a sports shop, and what the funny thing was, I was watching your podcast with Simon Bowler, and it really hit home when he was saying how he was a car salesman and how it really helped him going forward in his business. And I can pinpoint it to that as well. Working in the sports shop, working on commission, how you had to learn your product and you sell your product and how you approach customers and how you plant a seed and you have to sell so many items saying per customer. It was funny. I never really thought about it that much till I saw that podcast. And so
every job in a roundabout way involves some sort of sales, whether that's selling yourself or selling a product or a service.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, when we had Si on, the one thing that I'll say about him, apart from the fact he's built like granite, is he's very direct, and I think that definitely you can definitely tell. Like after he said, "I worked in car sales," I was like, I can definitely tell. Are you a tyre kicker? Fuck off. You know what I mean? So
I'm buying that car. Yeah, you're having it.
That's it.
Okay, Simon.
But yeah, so it went to the university, got that 3 years, graduated in 2016, went working for other furniture companies, really nice bespoke handmade kitchen. So that's when I decided to class myself more as a cabinet maker. In uni you're doing dovetails, fancy one-off pieces, and you think you're going to leave uni being able to sell $5,000 one-off chair and stuff, and then you go into the real world, so you just end up becoming a cabinet maker. So I didn't come from a joinery chippy background. I've kind of come from fine furniture into the cabinet making. So did that, went back to Ireland to give it another go in 2007. Set up another little business, West Style Designs it was, with my now brother-in-law. That went well, of course, but I set it up during the recession.
It's a tough time for everybody.
But we did really well. We got a hotel contract. I knew everyone knows everyone, kind of, in your local.
One thing I'm going to say there, because there was a big property issue, wasn't there, in Ireland at the time?
So what was happening in Ireland in that era, it was 2007, 2008, was every plumber, electrician, builder, everyone was building house in the States. I did a little bit, I can build a house, that kind of thing. And they were shooting up. But what was happening was there wasn't enough sewage. Like, they weren't thinking of where's all the sewage going to go.
Right.
You got 50 houses, but you only got a school that can take so many kids.
The infrastructure. They didn't put the infrastructure in.
So it wasn't there. So there was a lot of these ghost estates, they said, which were never actually connected to the mains and stuff. So what would happen was the Ireland government were trying to promote tourism into Ireland. So what they were doing is, if an investor or a builder put in £1 million, the government would give you £1 million if it was something to do with tourism. So then next minute, all these houses stopped and they start shooting up 4-star hotels with leisure centres.
Funny that.
So
so you were fully making stuff then, and then did you notice a drop off? Because obviously
no. So we just literally started off, and we were doing a couple of flyers or whatever, doing a couple of local jobs. But it's hard where I'm from in Ireland in the West, because every job's 1,000 and you're competing with the local builder down the road. Right. It's not. So what happened was, we went to the hotel that was being built, and I said, look, is there anything going, like reception desk or something in the hotel that we could get? Before we knew it, we had the plans out in front of us, and we got the whole contract to do every single hotel room in the hotel. It's like over £500,000, 21, 22 years old, on a massive contract with apartments, with kitchens in the back, everything. So we started that. It was stressful. Got waiting on checks to come in of about 90, 100,000 pound checks, and you're literally living on your credit card, and then you're getting and you're just paying.
So you bankrolling this at the time then?
Yeah, I didn't take any loans. No, there was nothing.
And you're 21.
I was 21, 22,
Right.
we got paid in the end, but there's a lot of block layers, a lot of people at the early stages that never got paid for that whole bill. It literally closed down within 5 or 6 months of 2008, 9. But my business partner at the time decided he wanted to go back to education, and I carried it on for a little while. And I had met my now wife around 2007, so she had graduated and she couldn't get enough work in Ireland, and I didn't fancy going to Australia. It was hard to get back into Canada with points and stuff like that, so I decided to just come back to the UK and had a job like that. And we came back in 2010. We had an apartment bought by April 2011, and I started working for a very high-end company then, and I was with him for 3 years. Learned a lot from there, and then went to workshop manager at another company. But when he made me workshop manager, he didn't offer me that much more money, but he allowed me to do my own private stuff on the side. Okay. So I kind of built up a bit of clientele, and they were always saying, "Go for it. You should go for yourself." So my second,
because one thing that I always find as well, the amount of people that I speak to on social via like my socials and the work one, is the amount of people that want to go self-employed, but then they always find an excuse not to. What made you? What was the?
My second child. So
that'll do it.
Gotta get out of the
I was about to say that'll do it.
It was 2016. I decided by the new tax year, the April 2017, I wanted to go for it because she was due in September 2017, and a guy I knew from uni, he had took on a big unit, and I said, "Can I rent some bench space off you?" So I rented some bench space off him, which wasn't necessarily cheap, but at then I was no social media or nothing, bit of Facebook. It was mostly check a trade, and the clients I had passing on my details and stuff. So I had about 2 months' work lined up, and then fair dues. Back then, I feel like Check a Trade was a good company to deal with, because it was the original owners and stuff before they sold out to Home Serve and stuff like that. I felt.
Isn't it owned by Worcester Bosch through? Weird.
I think there's a link with them
Home
into
Serve.
it, somewhere.
Yeah,
I think they own. I don't know.
Oh, do they?
I
the
think,
Home Serve side of it.
Home Serve, that's when it became more money, and the customer service. Because I used to get a call every 2 weeks or a week saying, "Can we improve or do anything?" Then it just stopped, and they just wanted more money, and you were getting.
Do you know anybody that does use
Check a Trade?
I've heard, not horror stories, but.
Well, they won't sponsor us now after that.
That's why I didn't want to go too far into it.
Chickatrade.com.
They were on the ball back then. They turned up at my house at 5 o'clock, interviewed me. I had to give 13 references. Were dated from the last. There was a couple that weren't exactly in the last 30 or 6 months. I just told a couple of people, if you get a call, just say I did it in July or whatever. And literally, they left it about. They checked your van to make sure it wasn't stolen. Checked your insurance. Checked they were on. I was
They're better than the old bill.
By 6
Those
o'clock,
tools, they ain't yours, mate.
I did a job in Birmingham, and I got a call I got a text saying, "Oh, I just had a Check a Trade asking for a review on you and stuff." And I was like, I just left my house. It was like 15, 20 minutes.
That quick?
They were
like
on
what's the drug enforcement? The USDA or whatever.
DEA?
The USDA for the drug testing athletes.
Straight on them.
Excuse me, is he in Birmingham?
You piss in this pot, please.
But yeah, I was really impressed with them, and I got a handful of big jobs, and some of my main customers now are still from the original.
Do you still use them or?
No. What I find with Check a Trade and Trust Trade and all these people is if you're booked more than a certain amount of months to weeks and stuff, it's pointless, because everyone that rings these services, they want you there and then they want you. And now we're running at 6 to 7 month lead times, and it should be pointless. You're just giving your money. As one of my friends. So it was November 2017, I had a customer in Cockfosters, and she said, "Look, you need to get yourself on Instagram."
I've just got to say, that always used to make me laugh.
Cockfosters,
because it's the last one on the Piccadilly line.
Piccadilly.
I always used to be like, This train is for cockfosters.
You the guy sat there went,
I was, yeah. Who's a cock?
So she was the one that told me to get on Instagram. And at that stage, you go on Instagram and you're on Twitter.
who was it who told you to go on Instagram?
It was just a client.
Right,
Just
okay.
a client. I was doing her house, doing a couple of rooms for her, and she was like I thought people were like using Pinterest and things. She said, no, people are going on Instagram now to look for inspiration. They're going hashtag.
And how long ago was that?
2017.
Right, okay.
So November 2017, set it up, did a couple of pictures in the workshop. At that stage, I took on my own workshop as well. Just kept had one old guy helping me, and I just kept pumping my money. I need profits into new machinery. Invested more into machines quicker than I did for looking for staff and stuff. So one big job came in from Redden, and then I invested into a new table saw and an edge bander on the back of it, and that was for me was the changing point from my company was getting the edge bander and the amount
If you
of
can
work.
you can do stuff quicker. You
Yeah.
can turn things around. People think you're more efficient. They're more likely to recommend you. It's a-
100%, yeah.
So those things that you'd bought, the saws, did you buy them outright?
Outright.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything I have, bar the van at the moment with the bounce back, everything's paid outright. I'm in talks now, just on the way here now, with another big machine, which is a huge expense, but
Right.
I'm trying to work out a deal with them with the Instagram and stuff like that.
Love
to
it.
help.
Shoe on that in, mate. You'll be
No,
fine.
Well, I think the one thing, obviously, everyone always moans about, all you ever do is talk about social media on air. Well, I wouldn't have found you guys without social media. But I want to go back to the checker trade thing, and this isn't to slag anybody off or say whatever. People now who are thinking, how can I promote I've got a new business, maybe I need to go on checker trade and promote myself. What I want to try and do is for anybody that's maybe an apprentice is sort of go, well, this is how much checker trade was, because no doubt there's a cost.
60 quid back in the day. Now it's probably 150.
Is that for the year or for the
month?
For the month?
Yeah.
And then didn't you have to, from whatever you earn, there
No,
was a
that came in
percentage
after.
of that?
Back then it was just that. Now they actually get reviews from a customer to tell them how much the job costs and everything.
And
It's
then they
gone
take a percentage from what the customers told them it cost.
It's completely different to what it used to be.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I
Isn't
don't
it?
like
It is crazy.
Because all I want to try and do, the whole point of the podcast for me really is, A, I get to talk to some really talented people, but B, also these little bits of snippets of information. Somebody might be watching that and thinking, oh yeah, I'll sign up to that. And no doubt some companies, not saying checker trade, because obviously never going to sponsor me again. but don't always make stuff so apparent.
No, it took me, I needed checker trade back in the day to get to, and like I said, some of my best customers came from there in the early stages. And but once you get your Instagram rolling and getting it up, it took me my 3rd year anniversary, I like to set targets. I like to have if you don't set yourself, people go, it's just social media, I don't post and stuff. You have to post, you have to keep it regular. And if you don't give yourself a target, I had a target for Christmas, which was 50,000.
Yeah.
I was on target, easily. I was on a roll at about 500 to 800 followers a week.
Yeah.
Constantly. Just was coming in.
You say that, but what ends up happening is, and this is the whole point of getting people onto the podcast and stuff like that. I'm not saying you're going to suddenly you got 1 million followers because you're on Trade Legends, because we don't even have that. But what it is the more that people get to hear about you or see your work, or somebody else likes it or reposts it, you'll be looking at yours, and I still remember going, I've hit 5,000 followers. I thought I was the absolute. Daddy.
We were doing a giveaway,
and then now I'm like, come on, 100,000. Do you know?
Yeah.
But it just.
If I could go back, well, don't get me wrong. I went from 40 to 50 to 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. It literally went like that. Within 3 weeks, it went up. 3 weeks, it went.
That 25 million real.
Honestly, it went viral.
Yeah, but that done some damage.
Yeah.
But what I loved about that was the negativity side. It started to actually become TikTok.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of people, because I was discussing this with Charlotte earlier, there's a lot of people that have all of a sudden shot up. So the instant reaction of most people is the jealousy comes out. You've bought the followers. Now, what ends up happening, and what I've noticed is one reel on everybody's thing has just gone like a rocket. They've added loads of followers from it, but I think on the flip side, Instagram then contradicts itself and shadow bans a bit and then slows people down.
Yeah, so
it's really weird. It's weird, isn't it?
The last 1,000 followers has taken me since the beginning of September.
It's weird, isn't it?
And I was literally doing that regular. And do you know what? I would rather go back to the 50,000 and keep the regular 1,000 coming in. But what I loved was someone negative. It was like, you've just all your followers are from Iran or whatever, like blah blah blah. And I guarantee it, in 2 weeks you're going to drop back down. And I was over the moon. Like when I hit 108 there last week, I was like, that because it
happened to Ryan Eskew too. It's happened to a few people.
Yeah, I wanted to just keep it above
Phil,
that.
Proper Yorkshire builder. He's always drinking the Yorkshire tea. It's happened to him as well. Yeah. So
no, it happened. It's a new thing. But TikTok is. I've got a couple of videos on TikTok that's over 1 million.
Did you post? The one that hit 25?
Yeah, it only did like 500,000.
Only.
No. But can you imagine that? Can you imagine it on like YouTube or something where you actually might get paid or something like that? It's like you said, it's just another. Well, with TikTok, it started with the COVID with the kids. It's actually Irish Del Boy is the name on the business. It's not a business page. It was a personal page that turned into.
Is it actually called Irish Del?
Love it.
At Irish Del Boy, and then the first few pictures are just me and the kids doing Elsa and Frozen and whatever else silly things was back in 2020.
Yeah.
But we ended up, and gradually I've did a couple of ones that hit over 1 million, and then but on average you can get some that are like 10,000, 50,000, and that's why with the workshop videos and stuff, just get as much out there behind the scenes. People like the rawness, and I get customers and also help, and that's where I've become quite popular on Instagram with the whole helping other trades. I get so many questions. I've Marksfield Machinery, the people I buy a lot of my machines from, I've done really helped them with machine sales and stuff, because I'm their salesman literally. They're coming to me, I'm saying, look, this is how I feel about the machine. And then you get other people going, oh, he didn't come up with that. I'm like, dude, John Jones is like, I'm not saying Derek Barrett invented this, I'm just saying he's the fella that I've seen it, and I'm more viewed by other certain people, that's why it became known as the Derek Barrett way and stuff.
Yeah, because the reason I always bring up stuff like the checker trade and then the social media stuff, and I get people to talk about that, is I'm trying to convince younger people that are getting into trades, apprentices, and they bang on about this all the time, just listen to what you guys are saying. Do you know what I mean? Because when you're saying 2017 you started your, and I can guarantee you, if I said to you, where does the majority of your work come from now?
100%. Word of mouth, and even
you know what I mean?
with word of mouth, it's directed through Instagram. Go check this guy on Instagram. It's not go. Here's his number. Ring him up. Have you looked at my Instagram? No, they very rarely would get that.
But the amount of people that say, "How do I get started? Where do I start? Should I use checker trade? Blah blah blah," and it's just that is probably the best self-promotion tool, and I bang on about it all the time. The amount of people that give me pushback for it.
Well, one of my absolute main guy, the head guy that works with me, he's only 25, Ollie Goodman, and I've said to him, like, I know the day is gone where you have staff for 10, 15 years, and I want people to come in, work with me, but grow their own bits and do their own thing, because that's how I started. A lot of companies I worked with allowed me to do my own stuff in the evenings, but try and keep them happy that rather than go out and get their own unit, they can use your machines and stuff. So I've been saying to him, look, you've been here nearly 2 years now, just get an Instagram page set up. Start.
Some people don't want to, because I have to remember sometimes not everybody's driven. Maybe like I am, and I'm always like, come on, why won't you do it? But sometimes
you need to encourage. Like, I want him to, because I know how hard it is because a lot of my old companies, and fair dues, fair enough, it's each to their own, they wouldn't allow you to use any of their content on your page, even though you made it and you saying, but you're not saying that you designed it and it's your custom. You're saying this was done for blah blah blah, and
I find that very, very strange.
Yeah.
Like, like obviously if Jack said to me, "Oh, can I borrow this? I want to go and film on the weekend." Like, do you know what I mean? If you've had a hand in that work, like, what's the?
I've just took on a new guy who's starting Thursday, so we're up to a team of 4, which is where I want to be. I want to be able to take two of us to go to site, and 2 to be in the workshop constantly, being able to do stuff. It's hard when
what's the aim then? So you've got the business now. What would you say that's what you want to do now? You've got 4 staff. What's What's the end game?
To get my weekends back.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think that ever happened.
Yeah, that ain't
I
happening.
had this I don't want to go back to. Me and Ollie kept it really. We were doing 3-4 people's work all summer, and I finally got a really good guy, Reese, who's just started with us about a month and a half ago, and I want to hold on to him. He's a good guy. Another guy lasted 2 weeks. He couldn't cut. He wasn't able to handle it and stuff. So this new guy now, he's local. So I'm hoping that he can hit the ground running. And then, because my favourite part of the job is the designing, customer interaction, and then the fitting. I'm happy to give the control of the making and become a workshop manager again. And just
Can you step back and let them do their bit, or are you
Making.
fully hands-on?
Making and stuff. I can get to.
Because some people can't, can they?
No,
I've always got to go in and
I suffer with a bit of
yeah.
Like I said, I'm looking forward to getting it up to a team of 4. My wife gave up her job to come work with me about 1.5 years ago, so she's now in the office just helping where she can.
Yeah.
Because we have such a long lead time, she just sends out a generic email, bounces back, going, look. Because the best thing I did during COVID was I stopped going to customers' houses until I had money in the bank.
Yeah.
I will not go see a customer. There's no do a free quotation online. You send over as much information. The more information you send me, the more accurate the quote will be. If your quote's $6,000, it's 10%, £600 plus VAT deposit, and I'll come out and measure, and I'll book you a slot in the diary.
Yeah.
And that was the best decision because my.
It stops all the bullshit, doesn't it?
Oh man, and a lot of the time it's us that we're worried about it.
Yeah.
But when you explain it to the customer, they're like, "Yeah, that's understandable, fine."
Yeah.
But you're like, "Oh, I can't do that. I have to go out and do a free quotation." And I'm like, "No, you don't."
If you're out quoting all the time, who's making money?
Exactly. And I was like that when I was spraying as well. When I used to spray as well as make, and you couldn't turn them out quick enough. So
There's another tip then. Any apprentices watching?
No free quotes.
no free quote. No.
Get paid before you get laid. That's what it is.
Says all the carpet fitters out there.
So, ladies and gents, tradesmen and women, I am trying to help you organise yourself. So we have teamed up with Tradify, which is a software brand that if you are struggling to get organised, to look after your customers and to get everything ready for the jobs that you are going to need, then Tradify is an all-in-one solution. So we've teamed up with those guys. If you click this little link just up here, you get 50% off your first 3-month subscription, and you also can have a 14-day free trial. So we'll come over to you now because I can see him salivating. He wants to talk to you about the inner Peter Pan.
Okay.
Just treehouses. When I was told that I was hosting this one with you coming up, I like to do a bit of research.
Yeah.
Treehouses, I was like, oh, this is brilliant. I think it harks
Treehouses.
back.
Fuck, I don't know anything about.
No, I think it harks back to when you're a kid. I just found treehouses.
Enchanting.
Oh, mate.
I told you that
I think
the
it's
inner Peter Pan's just come out.
No, I think it's the Ewoks in one of Star Wars.
Yeah.
There's a village, isn't there, up in the trees.
Up in the clouds.
Yeah. So tell us again.
Tell us about your Ewok village.
Yeah. Little fairy guys running around. But no, how did this start then? Obviously, like Al says, don't go right back. But from school, I'm sure you didn't go, I want to make treehouses.
No.
So imagine if you said,
Did you make treehouses when you were young?
Watch Star Wars, the Ewoks,
That's it, I
treehouses.
was sold.
No, imagine if he was like, that's what got me into it, the Ewok.
That's my whole story. It's ruined.
Oh, mate.
Taking the piss out.
Yeah, wrap it up. No, totally different, actually. I left school and went to university as an animator and an illustrator. So I went off and I did that for 3 years because that's all I ever wanted to do.
In what
Don't tell me you went to the
genre?
same uni. Not this
In
again.
cartoons. I wanted to basically do cartoons.
Visual or comic book?
Well, I wanted to be a comic book illustrator, but I thought that's not going to ever happen.
Can you still draw cartoons?
Yeah.
What's your favourite one? Drawing? Can you draw something sick on the wall or like a
Maybe, but not right now.
On here.
Yeah. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to be an illustrator.
Get some art on it.
And I did a degree, and then luckily I found my way into Aardman Animations in Wallace and Gromit.
Wow.
So I worked there
Brilliant.
for a decade.
Did you do some Wallace and Gromit?
I did. I worked on. They had a really not very popular
Gromit.
TV show.
Creature Comforts.
No, it was literally a Wallace and Gromit show that nobody watched.
Really?
Called World of Invention. It was a bit like Tomorrow's World,
Yeah.
but with intercut like Wallace and Gromit like clips in between. But it was pants.
But that was you.
So I did.
Is that what you just said? That was you? I did this and it was shit.
So yeah, I was there and I sort of started off doing storyboards and illustrations, like character designs. But then, I mean, it's a melting pot of amazingly talented people, and I quickly realised I wasn't as good as a lot of people.
Right.
But I was like, I'm in, so what else can I do while I'm here? And I sort of slid into like set design and set building.
Nice.
So I just sort of moved departments, started being on set and building tiny little houses. And I was working in the commercials department, so every other week or so you'd have a different advert. So you'd make stuff for like Nike or Cream Eggs or Weetos or whatever. So you'd be doing lots of different stuff.
Weetos.
Yeah.
I forgot about them.
It was weird. You'd be like, every week you'd come in and go, what are we doing today? And
Every day is different. Well,
every day is
week's
different, essentially. You'd be like, there's a 6-foot plasticine Levi Roots, and we're going to make an advert of him.
Reggae sauce.
Yeah, in a shed. So you've got to make a shed with a little sort of fake bit of house behind him, and then someone's going to animate the Levi Roots. And, this is really cool. So yeah, I did that for about 10 years and had a couple of kids, and then I was a bit like, this isn't, because it's sort of sporadic work, sort of short contracts.
Right, okay.
I was a bit like, this isn't.
So you're just working for yourself, but contracting to them.
Yeah, but there's a big sort of pool of people, pool of talent, and then obviously every year new people come.
Yeah.
And so you're basically
New people.
Yeah, you're sort of on a list of people with talent, and then they'd ring you up and go, right, we've got this advert, can you do it? And you'd be like, oh no, I've got something on. They go, okay.
And then you get dropped down.
Push down the list one level.
So if you don't keep up with when they're asking, you'll get
So eventually,
shelfed.
Shelfed, yeah. Eventually, I kind of worked my way down the bottom of the list.
That was your goal. I
was like, no one's ringing me. This is really bad.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to have to do something
does it literally
else.
dry up?
Essentially, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was sort of a bit like, Yeah, so I did that. And then I sort of came out of the back of that thinking, what do I want to do? I like making stuff. I'm quite good at building things, be that they're quite small.
Yeah.
So I had a friend who was a roofer, and he was like, I need someone to just come and
do me doll's house.
help me get up on the roof. And I was like, okay, I can wield a saw and a hammer.
So you didn't go in with any knowledge of roofing?
No,
it's just
no.
a case of helping him out.
Helping out.
Okay.
And
How old are you at this point?
I'm 40 now, so I was 28 maybe?
28.
Yeah, 29, maybe even 30.
Well, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
So you was at that point and not at a sort of a crossroads in your career. You didn't know. How old were the kids at this point then?
Probably the eldest would have probably been about 10.
Right. Yeah. So you've got to get.
Because that's the thing as well, is a lot of people that do have kids again go, I can't change job.
Yeah, it's a safety net, isn't it?
Safety net, yeah. But I was like, it's not, it was my dream forever to just work in film and TV and do illustrations and stuff, but it wasn't panning out. So I was like, well, how long do I drag this sort of...
There's got to be that
You don't want to be one of them 50-year-olds that's still trying to chase that dream.
Exactly. Yeah. So I went and did the roofing for a bit, which I thoroughly hated. Awful. Really didn't get on with it.
What didn't you like about that?
It's raining a lot. Like,
outside, you find that outside.
No, I know. I just wasn't ready for it, I think.
Yeah.
And like having to
coming from that air-conditioned studio.
Nice studios with warm, nice canteens.
Yeah.
And you just eat whatever you wanted when you wanted, and then suddenly you're outside in February being rained on.
I can't imagine there's too much variation.
No.
In roofing.
Not a lot.
No.
And
that's no disrespect to any roofers that watch this, by the way,
But like putting on gutters.
They're going to come for you now.
In the rain.
Demon Bloody check a trade. I'll have a lynch mob outside.
For the year will be coming in. What do you say?
Well, Danny. Hold on a minute. I've been on your show. Sorry, Danny.
So yeah, I just I did that for about 18 months, but I just got tired of like putting gutters on in the rain and then just rain in your crotch like relentlessly. Like, what? This isn't my life.
You're completely dry up here. It's just
Wet crotch and no fun.
Exactly. I was sort of going through a sort of slight identity crisis, because before I was like, I'm Ollie and I work at Aardman and I do cartoons and that's like,
and that's the response that I went, wow.
People were like, well, that's really cool. That's a really cool job. And then
I'm a fucking roofer covered in rain.
Exactly. You sort of go, oh, what do you do now? You're like, I just put gutters up. And occasionally cut a roof. And so I was a bit like, oh, this isn't me.
Yeah.
I've got to find something else that is me and passion. Yeah. So I knew I liked making stuff. I always wanted to build buildings. We did a few bits and bobs with the roofing people, and I was just like, right, sod it, I'm jacking it in. I'm leaving, and I basically just left.
Right.
Got started with bare hands, and was like, here we go.
So did you have a plan? How did the conversation with the missus go? I'm jacking that in.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do what was you pitching to her?
I just said I'm not doing it anymore. She went, great.
Did she not go, what are you going to do then?
No, not at all. She's so supportive. Right. She was just like, yeah.
I think the
She
thing
wants you to be happy.
Yeah, she was like, it's you. Every morning you wake up and go,
yeah,
I ain't going to work.
But you might be miserable when you come home as well. No, don't. You know?
Yeah. So she was just like, do whatever makes you happy. And my mate Jack, he was, he's like, I've wanted to build a little recording studio in his house, and he had an old sort of pig barn at the side of his. He lives on an old farm. He's like, well, why don't you do that as your sort of first job? Because there's some roofing to be done. So, I know how to do that bit.
I know you love that.
Yeah. So he was like, why don't you come in and you can do that, and that can be like your first.
You had me at studio, you lost me at roofing.
So I just went in and started doing that, and it was all right, nice and creative, because it's like my passion is creative.
Were you drawing?
So I was drawing designs and things, and I was like, well, I think I can actualise this sketch I've done. The roof bit was easy enough, and then nice sort of old-fashioned cladding all around the walls. It was all a bit wiggly-woggly, and it sort of went from there. And put it on the Instagram, and then a couple of other people were like, oh, I like the style of that.
Did you put? Was that on your personal Instagram?
No, I didn't have one before. I just
started up off the back of that
one, and then just other people said, oh, that looks cool. That looks cool.
I'm always amazed how people come to get on social media, because it's almost like by accident, or I suppose I better just do it.
Yeah.
And then weirdly they create something. And it's like, poof.
Yeah. Did you just sort of go, right, I've got to put it on Instagram to generate more work,
to get some more work? Yeah. So I did that. I had a lot of sort of failings in the beginning of like pricing jobs, and then coming home with like £8 or something. You're like, I really screwed that one up. Because
no one shows you.
I've never done that before. I've never run a business. I just drew cartoons. I was like, I'm a Wally, just with the tools. Yeah. So lots of very steep learning curve. Very quickly, and sort of I knew that I wanted to do buildings, but obviously it's quite hard to get your first like major kind of cabin if you don't have any experience or examples of.
Yeah, no one will give you the job unless you've shown what you've done, but you've got to.
So it's a bit.
Do it.
There was a lot of kind of doing other bits and bobs. I made tables and various like bookcases and wardrobes and things, and then.
Did you ever do any cabinets?
Oh, bad ones.
Solid.
Rustic. Yeah. And then I did a little. Someone contacted me. They'd seen me on Facebook, I think, actually, and said I want a little garden office.
Did you put yourself on like local Facebook groups?
No, I didn't.
Either of you?
No.
Have you ever done that?
No.
Because that, like, I'll be honest with you, the amount of people that go, sorry, I know this has been asked 1,000 times, but can anybody recommend a plumber?
I consciously don't go on the Facebook. I think because I've probably got it wrong, but people want something for nothing, and if you go and quote them, right, to come and do this job, it's £100. Oh, how much? Facebook seems to generate they want it done for nothing, and if you turn up 10 minutes late, bang, you're all over Facebook or it's you're shot down. But it's all local as well. Facebook's a very local community, whereas Instagram is a lot wider. So you don't get slaughtered as much locally.
Yeah, we got a little Facebook group called Cheddar Mums. And it's dangerous on there.
On where? Facebook?
On Facebook, Cheddar Mums.
Sounds like something on OnlyFans.
Right there.
Stop smelling.
It's good. I mean, there's some good photos on there.
There's some good cheese on there.
You don't want to get put in the wrong department on there. So I try and steer
Mums.
Cheddar Mums.
Cheddar.
The original Cheddar Mums.
He will be searching that later.
There is a secondary group that's not.
Could you imagine if they got loads of new
subscribers?
Yeah, they'd be like, where the hell's this?
I know you
just
get
a load of tradesmen.
You can't just join.
You got the Cheddar Mums.
You have to prove you live in Cheddar.
We'll go covert.
No, we'll put Charlotte's picture.
Change your location.
That is the aim, to get inside, infiltrate Cheddar Mums. I can't even believe there's a group.
It's legendary around where
Is it?
Yeah, I mean,
so if we get it,
everyone's in it in Cheddar.
Could you get us in?
No.
If your name's not down, you're not coming.
Yeah, we've got to get in now.
Yeah, Mark, wait there.
They're harder than check.
It's not gonna get you.
I look like something from the 80s. What is it?
There we go. Cheddar Mum's new recruit.
So you put a wig on.
He's in.
Rock.
Cheddar Mums. Suit you.
There you go.
Cheddar Mum's.
I would do the whole rest of it in this, but it's gonna.
You're the new Thor.
My daughter looks just like me. With hair, I look like my daughter now.
Yeah. So, as you know, myself and Pete, we always want to try and give back to the people that watch and listen to the show. So we've done you an absolute solid. We've got loads of discounts from top name brands all across the internet. So if you want to save some money on tools, software, tool bags, accessories, then go and check out our discount page, which is just located here. Hopefully there's a saving on there for you, and that's a little bit of a thank you from myself and Pete for supporting the channel.
Women.
I'm really sorry. We've just absolutely decimated your story.
How did we get to Cheddar Mums?
I think someone found me on the internet. That was it. From
Cheddar Mums.
From Cheddar Mums, potentially.
Right.
Yeah.
So there, she wanted a little tiny garden office, like a 1x2, basically somewhere she could have a little laptop.
Yeah.
And then, so I was like, yes, finally. So I went and made that, took some nice photos, put it on the internet, and then other people saw that and went, I like that. That's not your normal kind of rectangular garden office with a flat roof type thing. It's something a little bit different. And then from then, more and more people have seen interesting buildings gone, that guy makes stuff that's not just
Standard.
a standard thing. It's something a little bit weird. So.
One thing I want to ask both of you, do you get requests from real weird places like, I don't know, Shetland or somebody's seen your work and it's nowhere near you? Do you get requests?
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
I've been to Wales.
Have you?
Been to Newcastle.
Oh, you follow them up and go there to do them?
If it's over 10k, I go anywhere.
Money's right.
That is such a good shot. So do you go there? If it's over 10k, I'll come your way if it's over 10k.
Nice.
I love that. So
Back of a t-shirt.
where was the weirdest or most random place that you've had?
I've had a few ones in Europe,
Have you?
but I'm like, well, it's not really.
Would they pay for you to?
Well, I don't think they quite realise that they would have to pay for me to go there, and then the logistics of me building something that's not.
Would you go and do it?
Well, if it was over 10k, I'm on my way.
But like, if somebody said, "Oh, we'd cover it," would you?
Yeah, I mean, if it was something that I really wanted to do, if it was a cool project, I'd go.
It wouldn't be so much the money, you'd have to be invested in it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So
well, that's-
up sticks, in a sense.
Yeah, but all the jobs I do, I'm not. Probably to my detriment, I only actually do stuff I really want to do. I'm not interested in just making the money. If it's not a project or I don't get on with the person, kind of vet the customer straight away. And if it's not, if there's not going to be because when you're building a big job for 5 months, that takes a lot of kind of back and forth.
You can't have
It's
any
your
issues.
Instagram at the end of the day. I say to people like, "What can you? Not what I can offer you. What can you offer me?" Because I want my Instagram's got to a stage where I want it to be wow. So why would I take a
Really shit thing.
door on something just to cover?
You've got to have like a certain rapport with the customer.
100%. Because if you don't, it's just going to be a disaster.
You make them want you more because they go, "I'm getting something special here. It's unique kind of thing. You're selling yourself."
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, let's get back into it. So
Where were we?
Cheddar Mums.
Back to Cheddar Mums.
Deep into Cheddar Mums. Balls
Cheddar.
deep. Yeah, so then I just made some more buildings.
Yeah.
And then I got the George Clarke little gig.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. So did that.
How did that
You
come
can't
by?
just brush that.
Okay, how did that come by?
Drop that bomb in.
So
Well, he came to me. He offered me 10k. And I said,
So how did that sort of
Basically,
begin?
the customer Val, she had already contacted me saying she wanted to build a little like Airbnb type building. So we were in preliminary chats with that, and that was really cool. And then she dropped me an email a few weeks into our sort of backwards and forwards saying, "Oh, I've contacted George Clarke's Amazing Spaces, and they're quite interested in filming the process of this being built." And she's like, "Are you interested in being filmed?" I was like, "Yeah, why not? It sounds wicked. I'm up for that." So I had to do a funny little sort of video interview going, hello, I'm going to build this building, like a total knob.
Everyone does that voice, don't
So
they?
bad.
It's your phone voice.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm going to put something here and there's going to be something there, and they're like, send that off, and they're like, yeah, it sounds great. And the cabin itself is called Ursa Bear.
Right.
My business is with bare hands, and like, oh, bears, it sounds great. It's kind of coming together. We'll
It's a
come.
teddy bear's picnic.
Exactly, and she bought this sort of 12-foot high, enormous stuffed bear that lives in the corner of the
Did
room.
she actually?
Yeah, that's where
Brilliant.
it all sort of started from that bear. She's like, I want to build something to put this bear in. So, all you know, serendipity.
Fucking cage,
Bears.
maybe?
That's not real. So I did that, and then they basically said, right, we're coming on this day, and we're going to start filming. George is going to come. He's going to do some work with you for the day, which was like 6 minutes work. If that. He had a hernia or something. He said, we're going to dig the foundations, and he was like, jump, that'll do.
That was
You do the rest.
Essentially,
it's all in the edit.
yeah, essentially they asked me to dig it in a certain spot because it looked good for camera, but I was like, it's actually like there. And
So
I
it
went,
was
"No,
properly staged then?
yeah, so I dug these holes for these footings, and then I was like,
Had to fill them up.
I said, yeah, I had to fill them all back in once they fucked off, and then move it over there where it's supposed to be. But it's like, it won't make good shots in this in
Toilet,
camera.
Portaloos in the back.
Yeah, so George then disappears, and they go, right, we are going to be back in sort of, I think it was like 82 days
Roughly.
to finish.
See you next year.
on this date to finish the build. It's got to be done.
You had
Are they giving you the deadline?
They're giving me the deadline, and I'm like, oh
shit. Now you've to
It's
work.
just me, and I'm building this massive building all on my own with my little rickety ladder.
Yeah.
I better get to work.
Did you get it done?
Yeah, like to the day.
Was it?
I was doing sort of 16 hour. I didn't see the wife and kids for the whole summer. I'm still.
It's always a plus sign.
still in the shits.
Heavy cloud and all that.
So yeah, it's about an hour and 10 minutes drive from my house. So I'd drive down, leave at like 6 in the morning, get down there, and then just work for like 15 hours solidly.
Was you coming back?
And
You
then
wasn't
drive home.
stopping
No,
down
staying
there?
there, driving back, go home, go, I'm
Yeah.
knackered, get up, do the same thing every single day for the 80 days or whatever it was.
Just to hit their
Just to hit their
deadline.
thing, and then they came back in. George turns back up. Oh, you done
Look
great.
at it.
It looks wonderful. Great job.
only a free. Do you need me to dig anything?
Yeah. So, but then they would also.
fill
I
that
also
hole.
had like a
Fill the
filming
hole you
schedule. So I'd have to be. They'd be like, right, you need to send us a list of all the elements to the build and what you're going to do. So I'd be like, right, I'm going to build the base, and I'm going to build the stud walls, and then I'm going to clad it, insulate it, etc. And they're like, okay, we want to come and video this on this day, and you're like, okay, but I just need to get on. Can't really wait. For you
I've got your deadline.
I've got your deadline, and you're like, well, can we come in 3 weeks to see you put the roof on? Like, well, no, I need to put the roof on like a week ago.
Can I just spid you it and give you my video?
No, so it would be a bit of sort of
So
juggling.
apprentices don't go on TV.
What can I do between like?
Was there not? Did they not give you the option of doing some raw filming for them?
No,
They wanted it all.
they wanted
high,
it, so they would
highly
come like
produced.
maybe every 2 weeks, come and film. Send a little person would come down, do some videoing, and I'd sort of hit a nail in or whatever, take it back out, hit it again from a different angle, and that sort of thing. And then eventually we got the whole thing done, and from that it went on Canopy and Stars, that kind of the really sort of aspirational glamping place. And then lots of other people saw that. It's like the second most popular post they've ever done.
Right.
And then everyone's like, oh, who made that? So then it just inundated. This guy. And so just loads of people keep...
Is there many people doing what you do?
Yes and no. There's quite a few like bigger firms.
I see them where they're doing like almost like prefab.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
But there's not
a lot of small like one-man bands just doing one-offs, which is all I ever do is a one-off. You can't get that building. You can't get that again. I'm not making that again.
Yeah.
But
unless he called you again.
you'd have to give me a lot of money.
You've got 82 days to win 10k.
It's
I'm
like a
definitely never
countdown.
doing it that fast ever again.
Was there
That was
ever a
horrendous.
point during that when you're like, just wish these like just leave me? I
All the
want to get
time.
on.
It was really difficult, and the weather was horrendous to start with. It was like pouring with rain before anything was waterproof. So every day was like you're just drenched. Back to roofing.
So did you have to sign some sort of thing to say that you would get it done at their deadline?
You're just shitting yourself in case you get a
just
call
tell
off
anyone.
Charlie.
It just doesn't baffle me. I'm intrigued to see how they stage. Like you said, they literally say you've got to dig that hole there.
Yeah.
But we really need it there.
Yeah.
Do you know why they gave you 80? He needed to get over his hernia. That was the recuperation time.
But it's just
Yeah, it's Yeah.
It was a lot of hassle doing it.
Yeah, but it was brilliant because
Yeah,
it was
what
like,
you got from it.
Yeah, I mean, it was the highest rated George Clarke's episode.
Right.
Like 10 million, or not, maybe it was like 3 million people watched the episode 1 of that season.
25 million.
No, it's nothing compared to this, but for me,
10k Degsy.
Mine wasn't 83, mine was 10 seconds.
but yeah, so it had loads of people watching it. The only downside of that was I wasn't allowed to like have any branded.
For your own stuff.
So I was just known as Build a Friend Ollie.
Build a friend, build a bear.
Okay, so I had a T-shirt with like
Build
with
a
their hands
friend
on it, with a
Ollie.
bit of sellotape over it. Not allowed to see that.
yeah.
Not allowed to promote who you are.
Right.
Which is a bit like, whatever, doesn't matter. But there's great footage and great pictures, and they're out there and people can see it.
Well,
I'm in there.
the good thing is as well is it's great to have on, like in essence, your CV, isn't it? So
yeah, and I didn't think I was going to be in the edit very much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, I thought that it's going to be mostly about Val,
the build, yeah.
and then I might be in the background going,
Hello.
hello, just hopping up.
On his phone looking at Cheddar Mums.
Cheddar Mums.
There was the guy.
Yeah, I was in it, so it was cool.
Great.
It's really cool.
But listening to your story, like you've gone from doing the cartoons as something that you really wanted to do, and then going and doing something that you really didn't want to do. Sorry, Rufus again, and then like just sticking yourself out there and actually ended up doing something that A, you didn't think you could do, but B, now you've actually got that forever to sit there
a new passion. He's found a new passion.
definitely.
and watch that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
So again, I know I keep banging on about it, but for people again getting a bit older, sitting there thinking, oh, it's too late to change or whatever, I think that's a great story.
Yeah.
A real good story. So what else then from there? What did that lead to?
Basically, going on to that Canopy and Stars website, it sort of opens you up to people with money. Is what you want.
10K.
I
mean, the setting as well of some of these places is phenomenal.
Yeah, they're really lucky. I've met some really lovely people and just great customers that are willing to, because I like to come up with the idea and the design. I don't really want to work from anybody else's. I've had a few people send me like
Drawings.
Yeah, or sort of architect's drawings. Say, can you make this? I'm like, nah.
What would you do if you get a customer that you get on with? Because obviously you said you got to get on with, but they send you something and you look at it and you're like, oh, what a bag of shit.
Yeah, I just say no, I don't want it. Just
Not interested.
Not interested. I have to, being sort of slightly selfish.
It's got to get you to
I've got to come up with the idea.
But even when you're building it, is it quite organic as well?
100%.
Yeah, it's evolving as you're building.
Yeah,
this
so
and
we
stuff.
like the Pomeroy treehouse, the one that's got the big outdoor bath. That's looks a bit mishmashy. Is because it sort of started off as another building they'd bought, and it wasn't quite large enough, so they wanted to extend it. But we never really had a plan of what we wanted to do. We just knew it needed to be bigger.
Is that the one with the grey bath?
No, that's at the same place. The granite bath.
Yeah.
It's two
Beautiful that
ton
was.
solid granite bath.
I was dreaming about having some Cadbury's caramel and a Radox bubble bath in there.
Cheddar Mums before I'm dying.
Cheddar Mums, let them in, please.
I'm in the tub. Yes.
Beautiful that was.
But yeah, so I generally we have a vague idea of what something's going to be, but everything is organic. I just love to. You sort of start building it, and then you're in the space, and you're among the trees. You're like, actually, it'd be better if we chuck that bit there. We move that round, and everything sort of develops as it goes along. I'm all about evolving, not sticking to.
I mean, how do you decide sort of materials, or like is that all discussed with the customer first, or is it again you just think, well, that would really go with how that fits and how that seems?
The people they usually come to me because they want a certain
like that
aesthetic.
type of bath that was in there. I was like, I wouldn't have. You just wouldn't even think to.
Well, they bought that first. They'd been down to sort of a local.
So you sort of made that around.
Yeah, because they basically plopped it on the ground and went, well, that's never moving. So you've got to build something around that. Crack on. Essentially, yeah. It was sort of I've got a sort of one aesthetic that's my style, and so people come to me who want that aesthetic. So it's already in a ballpark of what people want. They want shingles and they want veiny edge and they want it to look a little bit hobbity and wiggly woggly. If you want really crisp lines and
you
things,
might be on
don't come to me.
Lord of the Rings next building this.
That'd be quite fun actually. I've got like that.
Back to set design.
As long as they fly you out to New Zealand or something like that. Happy days.
That'd be rad.
So, I mean, what's the future plan thing? Because obviously, you might be a bit different and be like, I just want to work on my own. Don't want
Is
anybody
it
else
just
around
you?
me.
You got no one else?
Well, I've got a guy called Louis who's been with me since April.
Right.
He's leaving. He's going back to New Zealand.
Hobbit.
Back to the Hobbit.
He worked
good.
at
Oh,
Weta, so
you're
he worked at Weta. He did,
Did he?
things. So he's been really cool. He's got the same sort of vibe I have.
Passion,
We're just like words of grummages, just like
Enjoying yourself.
Arr,
Yeah.
long-haired, scruffy oiks, building stuff with loud music on in the background.
Brilliant.
But yeah, so he's leaving, and it's just going to be me again. But I actually quite like.
Looking forward to that.
The solitary.
Yeah, no, it's nice having someone to talk to, but I have no aspirations of like having a team of lads
Yeah.
and then going, right, you go off and you do that. I don't.
Because it's you, they're buying you, they're buying
Exactly.
your image, aren't they? Of
Yeah.
what they want.
I think the
Yeah.
thing is as well, when you've got the freedom, when you've built the business or you've done work for people and you can pick and choose stuff, sometimes you don't need anybody else because you can do what you want. Whereas when you've got somebody else, you have
it's
to
responsibility.
think. So just round about this point on the show, we always do it's almost like a Jerry Springer final thought. So if you've got any like words of advice or you want to plug the absolute shit out of yourself and say all your social media handles, whatever it is, just a little bit of advice or like some knowledge that you want to pass on, like the cable tie thing.
Some little tricks, tips.
I would say keep your wood as long as you can. That's what my dad always told
Like
me.
what he's done there. Like what the cheddar mums will be all over that.
Sorry, no cheddar mums in here. Thank you. Let him out. Your missus would be like, what on
God.
earth are you talking about? No, nobody talks about cheddar mums.
No, she'll be like, have you seen how many new
the
followers
comments.
these cheddar mums have got?
We've got a load of geezers
I
in
don't know how
here.
many people in Cheddar.
All these tradies are in here asking for cheddar mums. What about yourself?
Yeah, no, just keep going, keep pushing.
Unless it's 10k, don't bloody
Don't
take it.
bother
Don't
calling
wanna
me. No, just keep putting the hard work in, keep going. You have to keep at it. That's the thing. I have had people come in and rent bench space off me and go, I expect to finish at 5 o'clock and be making money and stuff. And I see it, and people said it to me starting out and that going, you're doing crazy hours, blah blah blah.
But like you said,
everyone does it.
you start, and sometimes you don't even know how to price stuff. So, you've got to learn
You've got to learn,
as you go. The whole point of this and doing this is, like I said, I love talking to people, but the little snippets of information. Because even you saying, well, I underprice jobs. So when somebody goes and they underprice a job, if they're watching this, everyone does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's done it.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up about it. We've all
You
been there,
have to
we've all done
fail.
it.
Otherwise, you won't know that you're succeeding in a way.
Yeah.
I fail every day. I failed this morning when the server went out. I'm like, oh,
No,
Nathan ringing me like, do I still have a job? Yes, you do. So stuff like that. But no, I love both of your pages. Your stuff. Like, I mean, you obviously love treehouses. If you want
Love
to
'em.
mention it again,
Love them. Ewoks and treehouses.
Oh,
thank you very much for coming on. And I just love listening to people's stories about how they got started. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
If you like listening to Al talk over all the guests, if you've enjoyed this episode of Trade Legends, listening to Al talk over everybody else and people banging on the desk, if you've enjoyed listening to and watching today, you're fucking gonna just stay still, one space just for a minute.
If you've enjoyed watching this, blah 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 blah. Right, 3, 2, 1, go.
So I'll just not do it.
Go.
Yeah, you sure? I'm gonna shut up for just like a minute. If you've enjoyed listening and watching today's Trade Legends podcast, please subscribe to our channel. It will really help us out. We're a new podcast. We want to do big things, and you subscribing, hitting the little bell so you get notifications, would be just great. Thank you.
Hitting the little bell. I was like, yeah, ding 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 ding.
There is a little bell in there.